Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Amateur Operator. If you are like me, the reason you clicked on this video is you probably thought at one time or another, I know all these drills, but where do they come from? Who's Bill? Where the heck is a Mozambique? And that's the questions that I'm gonna answer here today, and then as well also show you. So we're gonna start off with the El Presidente. The El Presidente drill was created in the early 70s by a man by the name of Colonel John Dean or Jeff Cooper. He was a United States Marine officer, a historian, a firearms instructor, and one of the most influential figures in shooting at the time. Colonel Cooper served in World War II, as well as the Korean War before retiring in the rank of Lieutenant Colonel. By the late 1960s, Colonel Cooper was frustrated with what he saw as, quote, outdated bullseye traditions, basically standing in one place, taking your sweet time, and trying to get like ultra precise, hits. Instead, he developed on what became known as the modern technique of the pistol, a two-handed Weaver stance, flash sight picture, controlled trigger press, and focus on more modern magazine-fed, higher capacity pistols, which basically became the beginning of what the modern day way is to hold and fire a pistol. In 1976, he founded the American Pistol Institute in Paulsden, Arizona, better known today as Gunsight Academy. The El Presidente drill itself actually predates Gunsight Academy, however, being created while Cooper was training the bodyguards of the Mexican president of the time in the early 70s by the name of Luis Echeverria. And Colonel Cooper devised a drill that would actually test every crucial skill. Turning around to face a target, drawing from the holster, engaging multiple adversaries, reloading under stress, as well as re-engaging with good accuracy. The course of fire is pretty simple, right? I have it set up over here. It is the most complex of the ones that we're gonna talk about today, but it's still very simple. So standing in one place, 10 yards from the center target, you're gonna start facing away upon the start. The shooter will spin around, draw, fire 2 rounds on each target, and then they will reload. Then they will fire 2 rounds on each target once more, for a total of 12 rounds. In the early days of IPSC, which Colonel Cooper actually helped found, the El Presidente was one of the official classifiers and currently is in the USPSA. In fact, I just shot it this last weekend and I got an A-class hit factor, which I'm pretty proud of, even though I got a botched reload on it. That's in carry optics for those who are wondering. But at the time, in the 1970s, a perfect run was under 10 seconds with mostly alpha hits, or ideally all alpha hits. All right, so I'm gonna demonstrate the El Presidente drill. We're gonna start from 10 yards where they have this stick marked out. I'm gonna start hands up, facing away. And then I'm gonna spin around, I'm gonna draw, I'm gonna fire 2 rounds on each, and then I'm gonna reload, and then I'm gonna fire 2 rounds on each once more. All right, let's see. That was a 697. Let's see what our hits are. 2 Alpha, 2 Charlie, so good groupings. And then 2 Alpha, 3 Alpha, 1 Charlie, good grouping there. And then I got 2 Alpha, 3 Alpha, 1 Charlie. 697, so my hit factor was this. The Mozambique drill has one of the most dramatic origin stories in modern firearms training. Its roots lie in the Mozambican War for Independence, which lasted from 1964 to 1974. This was a conflict between Frelimo, the Front for Liberation of Mozambique, which was a Marxist guerrilla movement supported by the Soviet Union as well as China, and the Portuguese colonial forces, who relied on both local troops as well as foreign mercenaries. So one of the mercenaries was a man by the name of Mike Rousseau, a white Rhodesian soldier of fortune, fighting on behalf of the Portuguese. Now, brief pause, a soldier of fortune is just another name for a mercenary. Most of you think a mercenary is like a hired hitman, probably. But the real ones, not the ones that you see in the movies, are simply just men that will fight as a soldier for any country that'll pay them. Same, but different.
Same, but different. But still same.
They still like to operate inside the laws of ethics and warfare generally. So in 1974, at the tail end of the war, while passing through Lourenço Marques Airport, which is currently Maputo International in Mozambique, Rousseau was confronted at close range by a Frelimo fighter with an AK-47. Rousseau drew his Browning high power and fired 2 shots in the man's chest, but upon brief inspection, the fighter continued advancing toward him, and reacting instinctively, Rousseau raised his sights, fired a single round to the head, which obviously immediately ended the fight. So after he left Mozambique, Rousseau recounted the incident to Colonel Cooper, of all people. It's unclear where or when the conversation took place, but I do know that it happened after he left Africa, and it definitely happened inside the United States. So Colonel Cooper actually saw the tactical lesson pretty much immediately, right? That 2 quick shots to the torso might not be enough, whether due to body armor, drugs, or, sheer will.
Sheer fucking will.
A final, precise headshot could mean the difference between life and death. So Cooper shortly after formalized the sequence into a training exercise at Gunsight Academy, calling it the Mozambique drill in honor of Russo's experience. So we're gonna do the Mozambique drill. It's gonna be 2 rounds to the body, 1 round to the head. So Mike Russo probably would have done it a little bit more similar to this, right? A brief pause in between the 2 shots to the body and the one shot to the head. Right, it's probably more like that. So we got 2 wide alphas and then a barely low headshot. But the way that people train it today is more like this, where you just go straight into it, right? All right, a little better. 213. We got what, this one, and then one perfectly right in the head. And last but not least, the one that you've probably all been waiting for, the Bill drill. Some of you may know, but a lot of you are probably wondering, who the hell is Bill, right? The Bill drill is actually named after a man by the name of Bill Wilson. Some say it was Bill Jordan or Bill Rogers. You know, you'll find a little bit of contesting on that online, but Bill Wilson is most commonly attributed to it, so we're just gonna go with that. Bill Wilson is a competitive shooter, a custom gunsmith, and the founder of a company you probably know, Wilson Combat. He rose to prominence in the 70s, both as a top IPSC competitor and one of the best 1911 pistol builders in the entire country. Bill later went on to co-create the International Defensive Pistol Association, or IDPA as you probably know it, alongside Ken Hackathorn. Together they launched IDPA in 1996 as a response to IPSC. The Bill drill itself, however, dates way back to earlier IPSC era of the late 70s, early 80s. It's very simple. At 7 yards, the shooter draws from the holster and fires 6 rounds into the A zone of one single target. No reloads, no transitions, no complex stage planning or anything like that. It's just a raw test of draw speed, grip, recoil control, and sight tracking. Rob Leatham and Brian Enos in the 70s were actually good personal friends with Bill Wilson. They thought that it stood out as a clear, measurable benchmark, and they actually helped cement the Bill drill as part of the competitive shooters like training routine. By the late 1990s, a sub 2-second Bill drill was basically the gold standard. All right, let's see. And all alphas. Okay, cool, nice. That was a 210, so didn't quite make it. And today, in 2025, 30 years later and almost 60 years after its apparent creation, the drill obviously remains one of the most respected and well-known benchmarks in pistol shooting, to the point where even novice gun owners and, you know, people that shoot once a year know about the Bill drill. And now you know its history, as well as the history of the other 2 drills. So, with that, I want to thank you guys for watching. This is the first historical video that I've ever done. It took me a while to research everything, and I wanted to make sure I got everything right. So if I got something wrong, please leave a comment down below and just let me know. I'm not perfect, nobody's perfect, but I don't think I did. I did a lot of research to make sure, you know, I cross my T's and dot my I's. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all the things. And I'm gonna throw this tape as far as I can. That wasn't very far at all.